For Zach Young.
I literally cannot believe that there are so many people here because what does everyone want to do at 10 a.m. But eat dessert and booze? So great. I love Palm Desert Food and Wine for this reason. Like everyone who got up early to come to a baking demo that involves alcohol. Blessings. So yeah, so we thought we'd do a little something fun on one of my favorite subjects. It was probably my best subject in high school, other than lunch, which was drinking. So, good thing my mother's not here, by the way. She'd be hiding somewhere. So, I was talking yesterday at the James Beard brunch, right? That brunch, whatever. That for me, dessert is not about sweet so much. It's about everything else. So you always want to balance it with something salty or acidic. And one of my favorite ways to balance a dessert is with booze. So we have two desserts we're doing for you today. And we're going to let's start with the cake. So if you've ever seen, Zach live demo, you'll know that it's mildly irreverent. So if you have any questions, if I'm stop talking for some reason, which is doubtful will happen. But if you have, I'll take questions afterwards. But if in the middle, you have a good one, feel free, But yeah, we're loosey goosey. All right, so Guinness chocolate cake, right, with espresso martini frosting. This is one of my favorite chocolate cake recipes. The Guinness adds an extra richness to the cake, and also the carbonation helps in the leavening too. So I love this recipe. You can do it without the stout. You can do it with water, you can do it with coffee, but I find that the stout really adds great flavor. And the great thing about this recipe, by the way, is it's what would be called on an infomercial a dump cake, which always makes me giggle because I'm 5 years old. We said dumb. But basically it's all wet ingredients. You don't need a KitchenAid for it. I mean, it is nice if you have a KitchenAid. KitchenAid, I'm just gonna say it a few more times. Because guess what happens when I do that? KitchenAid mixers appear in my apartment. I actually have 6 of them. If you go through my Instagram, you'll see I can coordinate them with outfits. But let's try something else. Monogram appliances. Because guess what? I need to renovate my kitchen, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Carrera marble. Anyone from Carrera? All right. So, God, I love this. All right, so what am I doing? Cool. So I have my sugar and my oil. This is vegetable oil. So a mistake happened in the kitchens, which is in the commercial kitchens we have what's called blend oil. So it's a blend of olive oil and vegetable oil, and it's used because it has a higher smoking point, but it still has that olive oil flavor. And a lot of times we don't order extra vegetable oil for the pastry kitchen, so we end up using the blend oil. The olive oil in there actually adds a nice flavor to any cake, so don't be afraid to use your olive oil. Fat is fat. I mean, as you've noticed, because it's swimsuit season, fat is fat. It doesn't really change. It's there. It's still there. You can try to move it around, but it will always be there. So, vegetable oil, blend oil, olive oil, safflower oil, canola oil, not sesame oil. But oil, sugar, eggs. And again, we don't need a mixer for this. And now, so on your recipe it says sour cream. I am using milk. Kind of the same thing. It's cool. They both count as liquids. The sour cream works too. I like buttermilk in my cakes too. And buttermilk normally is the byproduct of making butter, right? You churn it, you get the butter solids, and then the leftover liquid is buttermilk. Commercially, they make it by coagulating milk. So I've taken the milk and acidulated it. Really big words. I'm proud of myself. with the beer. So the beer is going to get this to curdle and culture a little bit, almost like a yogurt or a sour cream. And it happens really quickly. You can see it. It's kind of doing its little separation thing. So great trick at home if you don't want to go out and buy buttermilk. Take a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of orange juice, whatever, squeeze it into your milk. 3 seconds later, you'll have buttermilk. Little trick. So we have our liquids. We have our dry ingredients, which are Valrhona cocoa powder. Don't bleach cocoa powder. It's not expensive, right? And even the good stuff is not that expensive. So invest in your cocoa powder, invest in your chocolate. It's worth the extra like $2 a pound because realistically you don't use that much in the recipe. So, you know, stay away from that box in the grocery store. Unless they're here, and then I would like to say that I love that Hershey's Gold Bar. Have you guys had that, by the way? It's like the caramel white chocolate with the peanuts and the pretzels. That shit is delicious. Again, thank goodness my mother's not here. So I'm putting the cocoa powder in first, and that's because I don't want the lumps to form. And then I'll just alternate my liquids and my other dry. And again, I did the cocoa powder first because I want to break up the lumps. Good, we have a camera on it. Our Guinness, little vanilla extract, little chocolate cake for breakfast, because why not? And now the flour. And this batter is going to be, it's pretty liquid, which is good. It means that it's going to bake and be that like really dense, nice, moist, fudgy chocolate cake. So that's that. I mean, that was like super quick, right? We didn't even need the mixer. So that's done. Bake it off in whatever cake pan you want, whatever makes you happy. You can do it in a sheet. You can do it in like a brownie pan. And now let's talk frosting. So little Espresso Martini frosting to go with our Guinness chocolate cake, because why not? So I have a little bit of butter. It's just a pound. Calm down, everyone. And then powdered sugar. And this you do want your KitchenAid for, by the way, because we really want to beat it. We want to beat the butter. We want to beat the powdered sugar so it dissolves. So I think my issue with like supermarket cupcakes, and granted, I am the one who takes the flour off of the corner of the supermarket cake because I love that junky icing. But the problem is it's really grainy. So when you're making a powdered sugar-based frosting as opposed to like a meringue buttercream, it's important to, one, make sure the butter's soft and beat it with that powdered sugar. And then you also want to add liquid to it to dissolve it. And that's going to give you a softer frosting. It's also going to get rid of some of that graininess. So Espresso Martini, this is instant espresso powder, which is great for baking. Don't ever drink it, but it's great for baking. I mean, unless you're having digestive issues, and then this will do the trick. So the espresso powder in here, salt. I use kosher salt always in the kitchen. Specifically Diamond brand. I like the particle size of it. It's a little bit finer. The Morton's is a little more coarse, which is good for like finishing a steak or whatnot. But for baking, I like the Diamond. It's a little bit finer. And it's the table salt is kind of a no-no for me. It's really fine, and also the sodium content of it is much higher. So kosher salt's the way to go. Espresso powder, salt, butter, powdered sugar, vanilla. Woo! And then Kahlua. So you can do, again, like you can do pretty much any liqueur in here. You can kind of make this your own, any other flavoring. You can add a little bit of cocoa powder to this too to get a little more chocolate flavor. This is kind of frosting, the fun part of baking, because it's like the one thing that you can kind of tweak as you go. And that's the difference between like baking and cooking. Like once you put the cake in the oven, there's not much you can do. But like if you're, I don't know, cooking a steak, you can be like, oh yes, a little bit more. Like, oh, this sauce is delicious. But with frosting, you can kind of do the same thing, do it to taste. So again, you want to really kind of whip this until it is light and fluffy and dissolved. Then we'll get my little turntable. We'll get some cakes I baked yesterday. And we will get an offset spatula, which is right here. Cool. We're just going to do that like that. All right. So cake assemblage. Normally I'd use like a cake board, but I didn't think that far ahead, so we shall not. The other, my other favorite thing with a KitchenAid, if you have the drop bowl, you can kind of use it to like go up and down. If you have the tilt head, you can kind of do this thing. If you have the drop bowl, you can also, not recommended under warranty, but you can tip the bowl a little bit in it. That's my little secret for like getting the bottom. I don't think KitchenAid likes when I talk about that. Because they're like, 18 people broke their mixers because they said that you told them to do it. I'm like, oh, all right. So frosting the cake. Do we want to talk about like splitting a cake layer? Like, are we interested in that, or do we want to just frost this puppy? Okay, let's talk about splitting a cake layer, right? Without cutting your hand off. My favorite subject. I don't even trust myself with these knives, by the way. So the way I do it is on a turntable, but you can also use like an upside down bowl, something that you can kind of push around. And then what I do is kind of hold your knife in one position. So if you saw straight across, you're not going to be level. So I'm just scoring kind of where I want to go. And then as I turn, I'm just kind of moving a little bit deeper and deeper in to get the layer, you know? And then finally you get through. So there's also like a toothpick floss method too that I've seen. But I mean, for me, this is the real easy way. And then let's spread the layers. And honestly, like I cut the layers as I go because I am kind of fast and loose in general. But giggles. Fast. I'm fast, all right? All right, and a cheap date, whatever, it's fine. Buy me Panda Express and I'm happy. Panda Express? Is anyone here from? No Panda? Okay. Still working on that one. So it's funny. I did for Delta Magazine. I did in the October issue. They have like the My Bag segment, which is like where you talk about like your travel tips and whatever. And I thought for sure by mentioning all of these things, they would just reach out and give them to me. Not true. Like I tagged them on Instagram and they were all like, glad you like it. Like, okay, great. except for RX Bar. RX Bar was the only one. Actually, this is a really funny story. So RX Bar, which is like the bar with like dates, egg whites, etc. So I'm on the plane back from Chicago, like October 2nd. The magazine had just come out, and there's a woman sitting across from me with the page open, taking a picture of it. And I'm like, haha, like she's like sneaking a picture of me and that. Like this is great. And then 5 minutes later, she pulls out like glossy RX Bar ads and is looking at them. And I turned to her and I'm like, I'm sorry, do you work for RX Bar? And she's like, yeah, I'm the director of communications. I was like, oh, well, did you see? And she was like, I know, I was just taking a picture because someone mentioned Mean Girls on Broadway and RX Bars in the same thing. Isn't that so funny? And I'm sitting there and then I just point to the little picture of me and I'm like, but needless to say, by the time I got home, there were like 8 cases of RX Bars at my apartment. So it worked. But, you know, being a celebrity is hard, guys. Just embarrassing. So I'm not even, this guy, I'm not even crumb coating. Like normally I'd do you could do a crumb coat. Oh, we are already bananas fostering. All right, moving right along. All right, so I kind of like do the top over, and then we go over the side again. And I'm just using this offset, kind of like a straight edge. A bench scraper, you know, that like flat, what we call a bench scraper, is actually a really good tool to do this. Or you could use like a ruler, a spackle knife, by the way. I shop a lot more at the Home Depot than I do at a cake supply store. But also, I'm a lesbian from Maine, so like I mean, just all flannel all the time, and the hardware store. So, so yeah, so those like spackle knives, those like straight edges are like work really well for this. And then you can, I mean, you can do whatever. Like we can do a little like, ooh, yay, we ruffle it, cool, woohoo, sweet. You can go from the inside too. Ooh, yay. All right. And I made a cake. Yay. I will be bringing that to the set of the new Hallmark made-for-TV Christmas movie that is filming in Palm Springs right now, by the way. And I am crashing that set and demanding a walk-on role. No, we're really bringing it, by the way. Just throwing that out there. All right, so next up, let's talk about a little old-fashioned bananas Foster pudding. So it's, you know, it's kind of a mashup of so many great desserts. You know, the mashup thing kind of started with that like PieCaken disaster that I did for Thanksgiving that has now parlayed into a full-scale bakery in Minneapolis, which is awesome. I opened it in November. Please come visit me in the summer because that winter is cold. That's all I'm going to say. And I was like, no, don't worry. I was like, I got this. I'm from Maine. Again, lesbian from Maine. Like, I'm good. I'm not good. No. That is like another layer of cold. Like you look at the forecast and it's like -20, and you're like, is that a negative? And is that Fahrenheit? And the answer is yes and yes. So bananas Foster pudding. Can you just scrape this out so I can whip some cream in it? You don't have to wash it. Just like literally scrape it out. Thanks, Alex. How are we doing on time? I'm going to assume good because no one is telling me otherwise. Get the hook. All right, so let's talk banana pudding. So, oh, all right, great. Thank you, my love. So I am going to. It's fine. We just wiped the bowl out. It's cool. It's all fat. And let me tell you a little secret. Except for that cake, which I just. No one's eating the rest of the stuff that I make up here. So by the way, that could not have been flour that I just put in the cake mix. Just by the way. Like 5 minutes before the demo, they were like finishing scaling it out, and they were like, baking powder or baking soda or baking. I was like, I don't care as long as it's white and powdery. Like, they're not gonna know. Sorry, you guys. The magic of TV. All right, so here now we're gonna get like a little bit. We're gonna go easy peasy on this. So you can see on the recipe, yes, it does say a box of vanilla pudding mix. Yes, this is a box of vanilla pudding mix made with milk. However, there's no shame in the box. Like, just doctor it up, right? Like, no one will know. So to this, I added the zest of one orange. And because we're going old-fashioned, as in the cocktail, not as in grandma, we added some angostura bitters. Now, bitters are actually a really cool thing now in coctology or mixology or whatever they call themselves now. I'm like, you're a bartender, okay? Like, I'm a mixologist. Right, okay. I'm like, how about you put 500 ingredients in my drink? Like, I would like it now. Like, it's really cute that you take 15 minutes to make a drink, but like, she's thirsty, okay? And if there's any bartenders in here, I'm sorry. Not really. Where did that spatula go? Spatula? Cool. So, old-fashioned, one of the classic original cocktails, bourbon or rye or whatever brown liquor you want, over ice, little sugar cube, angostura bitters, normally garnished with a Luxardo cherry and an orange peel. So we're bringing that into this as kind of an ode. So the bitters things are interesting. Like angostura is the classic. It's what everyone in their bar. But there's like a whole bitters movement now. Like it's a new thing. There's like celery bitters. Like if you go to the liquor store, there's now like where it used to be one bottle, there's like 18 companies. And they're actually pretty cool. So, and they're also good, like if you're not drinking, it's great like in a soda water, you know, like it's a good way to add some flavor. It's also apparently a digestif, I guess. I don't know. It makes me feel good. But so yeah, play around with your bitters. I like the angostura for this. There's a lot of kind of orange essence to it, which I think works well. And the acid, the citrus, the booze, it all kind of lightens up the boxed pudding. You can also add, it's not on the recipe, but you know, feel free to help it out a little bit. I love you. Thanks. So on top of using the pudding mix and the orange, right, I'm also going to lighten it with some whipped cream, right? Another way you can doctor it really easy. Take some whipped cream. Probably don't want to use whipped cream out of a tub unless Kraft Foods is here, and then Cool Whip. Cool Whip? Kraft Singles. Also, the name of my new dating site, by the way, Kraft Singles. It's for cheese lovers. Is Laura Werlin here, by the way? Cheese lady? Oh, I'll give that joke to her. So the whipped cream. Am I like doing something to my mic, or is it? I feel like I'm going, hello. Hey. Okay. I always feel like that when I have these things on. So whipped cream for like a mousse. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. Runny. You want it runny. You want it just to barely hold its shape. Kind of like me in a bathing suit right now. All right? Just like barely holding on to it. That poor bathing suit. It's like, help me! Not the thighs! Not the thighs! Ah! And then there are, of course, the other people by the pool who are like, I am blinded by whiteness! Albino whale! Aren't you a protected species? I love myself, in case you can't tell. Like, really, I have no body image issues at all. Especially since I wore overalls down the runway yesterday. That was terrifying. I didn't even have a spray tan. Stuart O'Keefe, when he found out he was wearing shorts, went and got a spray tan. He posted on Instagram, he's not going to be mad at me for sharing this, but like he went and got a spray tan. He didn't even invite me. Like, what the heck? Okay, so we have our lightened pudding. And now we will use this lovely Palm Desert food and wine glass, because why not? This is going to be real interesting to get in. Do you have a small spoon? Where? Oh, haha. Oh, I'm glad they borrowed it from my grandmother. My grandmother, growing up, I had this glorified idea. She's a wonderful cook. She was also a little eccentric and an antique stealer, which I realized after she passed and had 3 barns full of shit that she was not an antique stealer. She was a hoarder. So I have a lot of this laying around, I'll tell you. If you want any silver-plated stuff, come on down. We got 3 barnfuls in Arundel, Maine. So we'll do a little layer of pudding, a layer of bananas, and then banana pudding, right? Classic Southern. Normally it's vanilla wafers. Going to change it up a little bit. We're going to use some crispy chocolate chip cookies. Tate's. Love, oh my, I used to be a cookie purist, right? I used to like them crispy on the outside, soft on the middle. But then I discovered Tate's. It's crack. These are literally crack. This is a serving, by the way. I said it. This is a snack, all right? This is called lunch, and this is dinner right here, all right? They all into Oh, I'm good. Cool. All right, so we are going to finish this Foster's style. So Bananas Foster, classic dessert, originated at Brennan's in New Orleans, right? It's normally done tableside, waiter in tuxedo. I love that stuff, by the way. That old school, like, cart, like, fancy stuff. I love it. So we are going to use that to make our Bananas Foster. So pretty classic recipe here. We have the butter. We have the brown sugar. Next year, we'll get more spatulas. Trying to think of a spatula. Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid? No? All right. So we'll just, this is also a really quick caramel sauce. Like, you can pretty much use this on anything. It's great on ice cream. I mean, Classics Banana Foster is over ice cream. So our butter, brown sugar. Once that kind of dissolves a little bit, we can add our bananas. And by the way, you don't have to stick to bananas, right? Like, you could do peaches are great, fresh cherries in season. You do apples, pretty much any, like, all fruits are good fruits. And you just really want to cook it just until the bananas soften a little bit. You don't want to turn them into mush, like we are not making baby food, All right? You want a little bit of texture in them still. I actually like to use, this is a great use for green bananas, right? Banana bread is really good for the overripe ones. This is a great one for green ones. Do we have the stick lighter? Anywhere? Maybe? Well, we might just not have fire. Oh well. Does anyone have a lighter? Does anyone still like use lighters? Matches? I don't think we got it. All right. Well, that's fine. What? Oh. Well, yeah. Oh. Oh! Dreams, goals. Sweet. All right. So now so because this is an induction, there's no open flame. I love induction burners. So we shall heat our booze and then watch your eyebrows. There we go. That's the money shot. There we go. Never gets old. So we'll do another layer of pudding. That will be fine. Cut your losses. Trying to get that off, not going to really happen. And the great thing about this dessert is you can do this ahead of time, right? Set it in your fancy glasses, leave it in the fridge. Your guests, you're eating, whatever. You come back into the kitchen, you light the shit on fire, you put it on top, dessert's served, you're a hero, it's great, world peace is solved. I mean, it's so easy. And honestly, the longer this pudding sits, the better. It kind of like rots together. Some food is better when it rots, like soup and like this pudding. So then you'll have your nice cold pudding, and then to finish, you do this in front of your guests, they freak out. You burn your eyebrows off. And that's about it. But why not? Yay. And now I get to drink. Any questions? The question is, how do you know when to stop the flaming? That would be called when the fire alarm goes off. Or keep it going, because then the firemen come over and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. Would you like dessert? You're welcome. Yes, Zach unhinged. Anyone? Yes, question. Oh my gosh, I forgot literally like the best part. Do you work for Luxardo? No, actually, full disclosure, I did just finish a huge project with Luxardo cherries, which are like the Italian imported cherries. They're the ones that you see in the store and you're like, $20 a jar for cherries? They're worth it. But they're also like such a classic cocktail garnish that I just, like, honestly just drop them in. But look, the Luxardo cherries are great to use in baking. I did a bunch of recipes for them you can find online. You can use the juice, you can use the cherries. There's no booze in them, so, or you can just put it over ice cream and call it a day, because that's the easiest dessert ever. Anyone else? Sir? Can you do the chocolate cake batter as a cupcake? Absolutely. The great thing about a cake batter is you can bake it in anything, right? Like you can do it in a sheet pan and roll it up, or you can do it as cupcakes, or you can bake it in mugs. Basically anything you can put in the oven, you can bake the cake batter in. And honestly, like it says on recipes, like bake for X amount of minutes at 3, whatever. And no matter how great your monogram appliance oven is, your bake time will always be different because of the calibration of the oven, because of the ambient temperature, because of your altitude, whatever. So the only real way to know that a cake is done is to stick a toothpick in it, or if you do it enough, you can literally just tap them, right? So when the cake springs back, that's done. But time is irrelevant. What is time? I don't think we have time to address that one, but yes, sir. Good question. Question is, do I prefer to bake with a convection oven? Yes. So convection ovens at home are basically ovens with fans. So the heat circulates. Technically, if it is a lovely monogram convection oven, you shouldn't have to rotate your pan or whatever. It's still good practice because you still get hot spots even with the convection going. The only thing you don't want to use convection for is something that you want to sometimes the fan like pops like a cake will dome a lot in convection. Like if you're doing a big layer. So like I would do that without convection because it's kind of lower and slow. But I prefer convection, and actually I prefer induction for cooktops. I think a lot of people are romanced by the gas stove, and I get that because it's primal. It's like, me, caveman, this fire, I make food. But like the gas, it's so irregular, right? Like no matter what range you have, no matter how many BTUs you got, like it's always irregular. Induction, it's a magnetic current. So it heats very quickly and precisely. You can actually set the temperature point on it. So for pastry, it's especially great because of cooking custards, things where you want to monitor the temperature. So yes, that is it. One more. Yes. My favorite subject. When can we expect the cookbook? I told Stuart he was allowed to make fun of the fact that I'm the only one who doesn't have a cookbook. There has been 2 in the works, and hopefully in like a year and a half. The problem is, unlike some of these fools, I actually have like a real job in restaurants. Ooh, she burns. All right, well, thank you so much. Please stick around for all the other demos. We'll see you around. Happy baking.